Next item on the agenda is extracurricular funding for 2012-2013. You want to talk about this?
Yeah, it's similar to what we proposed at the previous meetings, and has been presented to the board since February. These are this is the third time you're seeing it. These are the clubs and the activities that, you know, as stated many times before, there are several clubs and activities that are popular. These seem to be the ones that have carried over the years consistent participation. We've heard from parents who have tried to do the pre-funding for these activities prior to holding them. We've met with parents from that worked with the Little Abner production. We've met with parents who've worked with the math club. They all, as stated, they'd rather have the opportunity to pay to participate as the athletics did, instead of trying to do the fundraising and coming up with the money beforehand and asking for large donations. So we looked at the clubs and activities that are service, leadership, or cultural based that we feel that a high school should offer and sponsor. Those are in the first group. The second group are divided between either participation clubs or competitive clubs. The competitive are 100 instead of 75 because of transportation built in. And the administration is recommending option A. So that would be to make the general registration fee $200 instead of $190 for all students, only increase that by $10, and then offer the following activities for the next year at the $75 or $100 rate. As I stated in the board packet, I think we need to watch this for a year, see how this works out. If participation drops in some of these clubs, or if we need to put in a threshold that maybe a club needs to meet in order to run that, that's something we want to monitor closely next year. If this goes off successfully and we can keep this going, and we think there's opportunities to add some additional things back, then we can look at that more. But you know, we're trying to play both worlds here. We're trying to keep everybody happy and listen to the community, and I think we need to watch that. Somebody had mentioned or asked a question, well, why don't we just bring back everything? We don't have the personnel in the business office to be fielding. We went from a full-time to a part-time position, and that deals with the student activities and the pay to participate. So we have to keep an eye on, okay, if something doesn't run or doesn't have enough participation, are we going to be, you know, refunding money out if we can't find a sponsor? Do we have to be taking checks and then refunding those checks and the processing of that? So that's why we focused right now on the clubs that had a consistent participation rate. And the building administration put this together, and I support their recommendation as well.
All right, do I have a motion?
What is the recommendation?
Option A.
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School, District 208, Cook County, Illinois, hereby approves option A for extracurricular funding as presented in the April 10th, 2012 Board Agenda Packet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by John Keane. Any discussion?
Kevin, I had asked if we could see idea of what the cost for the average student would be if based on raising the fee and the clubs and the sports. Were we able to do that before the meeting?
No, and Pam, do you want to talk on that about the inconsistencies with the participation because of the cuts?
Yeah, if you're trying to look at, just let me clarify what you're looking for. Are you trying to look at how much it would cost per student if they were trying to be revenue neutral by how many kids would be involved?
I think last year you compared the average, like, students in 2 sports and 2 clubs, and here's the fees, and you take that, and here's how much they paid last year, how much they paid this year.
I couldn't find the document. Okay. I'm so sorry, but you know, we could give you
if it's something you can do it, I don't want you to
Okay.
remake the wheel if you had it.
Yeah, what I found was something that gave the how much it would cost per student if you were going to divide the full cost of running that club or activity.
Yeah.
And then I found the same thing for sports, but I couldn't find scenarios of, I also found how many students were involved in one activity or 2 activities or
Right.
3 activities, but it didn't have how much it cost for them.
Okay.
So
The second thing is
Yeah.
raising the, what's the $190 fee, do we call it now?
the registration fee?
The registration fee, it's over a 5% increase, and that's a fee that well, again, unless you get it waived, but everybody has to pay, even if they don't participate, and the rest of them are options. So we are going to raise it 5%.
Okay.
Any other?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
No, we as a board passed a policy regarding participation in classrooms or enrollment in classrooms. I would suggest, I know you're saying let's defer this to the next year, but maybe that's an issue we can bring up to the board to say there should be a minimum amount of participations in these clubs so that these don't become cost burdened. So maybe that could be brought forward. Secondly, this is also very difficult to manage, as I understand, because of the way the contract is written right now. Is that true? Because the stipends are given at the beginning of the year, whether
Right,
we can look at the participation or not, but that by that point it could be.
Yeah, that was something I tried to amend when I first started, but it would need to be collectively bargained. Right now, our stipends, which is something unique, a little unique to RB, is our stipends are paid on the first day of school. Even though a sport or a club might not start till the spring semester, they start getting paid August 16th. It's broken out over the 24 or 26 pay periods. So if we started to do this and then we found out by the time the club starts that the participation wasn't there, well, then we'd have to try to retro back the money and pay from the staff as well. So I mean, there's some things that might have to go hand in hand with it as we propose a new collective bargaining agreement.
Okay.
It's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
And just to give some historical perspective, there's a committee that's existed for years with the RBA representatives and administration that would review the clubs at the end of the year, make suggestions for the next year. And they have retired certain clubs where the popularity and participation has fallen, and brought other things in as they became popular, and we then would bring to the board those suggestions and those changes. And that didn't occur last year because we were looking at reducing and suspending some of those activities. So that's a process that had been in place for years, is looking at what's a viable club and what's really kind of dying out. So we could continue to get historical information on that. Like,
And could you remind me, how many clubs did you bring back in this proposal?
Math team, speech team, and the spring musical were brought back.
Great, thank you.
And some of these stipends are split on this document?
Yes, exactly. Everything that's split is actually one complete stipend that's divided among 2 or 3 people.
So you can't get rid of a third of a stipend?
No, no. Thank you for reminding me. We did cover that in an earlier board meeting. So it's not like a coaching position. It's one complete thing that 2 people are splitting, or 3 people.
All right, any other questions?
Do we need to have in the resolution, as opposed to just having option A, do we need to clarify what option A is?
Option A is on the website.
It's on the website.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Mary Ann?
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yeah.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Gritchen?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes.